Good morning. Good morning. The time's now 9:30. My name is Mike Haley. I'm the chairman of the Board of Commissioners for Johnson County, Kansas. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's meeting of the Board of Commissioners for Johnson County. I'd ask the clerk to please go ahead and start our meeting by calling the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Here.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick here.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Here.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye. All are present. Would you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. As one quick housekeeping item, we're going to take our public comments before proclamations today. But first, we need to address the circumstances of our world. Our hearts are with our Jewish brothers and sisters today. We recognize that Hamas is a terrorist organization committing unspeakable acts of violence against civilians. The images we've all seen are devastating and heartbreaking. We will always and unequivocally denounce terrorism in any form, in any forum, from any source. We understand that the Jewish community here in Johnson County and around the world is hurting and is fearful. We'll continue to support them through this time of trial. We hope for peace and safety for all of the innocent lives caught in this hatred. And at this time, I'd ask that you all join me in a quick moment of silence. Thank you all very much. I know my fellow commissioners may wish to comment on this matter, and I invite them to do so within their commissioner comments during this meeting. At this time, first of all, I want to thank everybody for being at our meeting today. If you would all join me in checking that your cell phone or any other noise-making device that you may have is on silent, we sure appreciate your cooperation. We're going to start today with our public comment portion of the agenda. This is for speakers who wish to address the commission on any business that does not later appear on our agenda. If you wish to speak on an action item, we'd ask that you register for that particular action item. If you happen to speak on an action item, we're going to ask you to refrain from speaking on an action item during this general public comment session. When you come to the dais, we ask that you state your name and the community in which you reside. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. There's a clock that'll appear to assist you with that time limit. If you happen to go beyond that time limit, I'll ask that you wrap up your comments. We ask that you refrain from comments that are inappropriate or profane or that demean any person or groups of persons. If we happen to dive into that territory, we'll ask you to refrain from that kind of testimony. If it continues, we'll ask you to leave the dais. We'll start with the virtual public comments, and I'll ask the clerk to let me know when we can start with the virtual public comments.
Ready?
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming today. There are three proclamations that we'd like to issue today. The first of which is National Substance Abuse Prevention Month. Earlier, we proclaimed a proclamation on behalf of National Recovery Month. The month of October has been designated as National Substance Abuse Prevention Month. It's an opportunity for us to raise awareness about the importance of substance abuse prevention and honor and remember those who have lost their lives as a result of substance abuse. Due to the potency, the lethality, and the unpredictability of fentanyl and other additives that are more common in our community today, the risk of overdose is now higher with any use of any illicit drug. Prevention and early intervention strategies can inform, connect, and empower individuals and organizations to prevent the misuse of substances and to reduce the impact of substance abuse and co-occurring mental health conditions. We have great community-based efforts in Johnson County, such as the Johnson County Prevention and Recovery Coalition, as well as organizations like Keeping It Clean for COOP. These organizations are working diligently to reduce substance abuse and to prevent overdose deaths in our community through education, preventative programming, treatment services, recovery supports, and other harm reduction strategies. We therefore are proud to proclaim October 2023 as National Substance Abuse Prevention Month here in Johnson County, Kansas. I'd like to invite Sierra Wright from the Johnson County Mental Health Department, as well as Libby DeVisto from Keeping It Clean for COOP to say a few words about this proclamation. Good morning.
Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sierra Wright, Manager of Prevention Services for Johnson County Mental Health Center. And on behalf of the Prevention and Recovery Coalition, thank you so much for recognizing the importance of substance use prevention. Nearly all of us in this room have likely either been impacted by substance use disorders or know, love, and care about someone who has. So thank you so much for that. The Johnson County Prevention and Recovery Coalition are leading the efforts regarding the opioid crisis within Johnson County. And we have diverse membership throughout our coalition, and I am honored here today to share Libby Davis, and she's going to share a few things about her son's story.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here to accept the proclamation on behalf of our coalition. And there is no better time for this proclamation because we are in the midst of a new opioid epidemic, which is fueled by illicitly manufactured fentanyl. The U.S. loses the equivalent of a classroom of teenagers each week. And the U.S. loses one citizen every 8 seconds to illicitly manufactured fentanyl. Johnson County is no exception. And I know this all too well because my 16-year-old son is a part of both of those statistics. Prevention through awareness and education is our best defense. And I'm confident that this proclamation will bring further attention to this important issue and help us with additional efforts to combat this battle. Thank you so much for putting this in place.
We'll have information about the Johnson County Coalition, Prevention and Recovery Coalition, as well as Keeping It Clean for COOP on our social media for people who would like to be able to utilize those resources. And again, thank you so much. Our second proclamation today is about our annual United Way campaign. Johnson County annually works through our staff to raise funds and awareness regarding the good work of the United Way. This year, we're going to start on October 16th, and we'll go through November 3rd with the theme United by You. We have established a goal of raising $95,000. The Board of County Commissioners of Johnson County, Kansas proclaims that period, again, October 6th through November 3rd, as the Johnson County United Way campaign period, and that the theme United by You reflects the important role that caring will play in the success of the fundraising campaign and in supporting the agencies that are funded by the United Way. It's my pleasure to welcome Brent Christensen and Aaron Witt, the co-chairs of the Johnson County United Way campaign, to share more about this enthralling program. Gentlemen.
Good morning. I'm Aaron Witt with Wastewater Department, joined by Brent Christensen with Financial Management and Administration, and this year we're honored to be co-chairs for the campaign. I also want to thank Tiffany Hinchell, who is essential in helping us coordinating this. Like the chairman said, our theme this year is United by You, and it'll run through Monday, October 16th through Friday, November 3rd. Our goal is to raise $95,000. Last week, we held our United Way Ambassador meeting, which includes a member from each department or agency, and then they will help us with the campaign drive. This year, we're continuing to support the Sunflower House to help children that need love and comfort during challenging times in their lives. And the county will continue to use the e-pledge system this year, so employees will receive their first personal email Monday morning. And we have some great donor incentive prizes this year for those that are new contributors, current contributors, and then current contributors that increase their pledges by $2 or more per pay period. And we'll continue to have our department awards and challenges also. But this year, thanks to United Way, we have a special incentive. We have 2 tickets to the Chiefs-Raiders game, including parking pass, for Christmas Day. So we're going to have a special drawing for donors that, new donors that have $7 or more per pay period, the 7 touchdown, you get that theme, or for current donors that increase by $7 or more per pay period. So we're hoping that that generates some excitement around our campaign this year. With that, I'd like to introduce from the United Way of Greater Kansas City, we have Sammy Snow, Manager of Corporate Partnerships, Dustin Wolf, Vice President of Corporate Partnerships, and Jessica Blueball, Chief Development Officer. And Jessica will say a few words.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. I don't want to take up too much time. I think the prevailing message here is thank you. The partnership that we have with United Way of Greater Kansas City and Johnson County is integral to our ability to do work across our community. The leadership of Aaron and Brent and Penny's longtime support of our board, as well as Tiffany Hinchell's being a leadership donor across our giving societies. The work that we do at United Way is really about connecting the philanthropic community and the dollars of those who are willing to give them with the agencies who do the work in our community, and as well as the direct service that we provide. And the work that you all provide across the county, the partnership we have with our 211 service, which is our 24-hour day, 7-day week, 365-day-a-year social service hotline. The referrals that we get from Johnson County are integral to our ability to serve across this metro, as well as the amplification of the work of agencies that we support, like Sunflower House, Kids TLC, Il Centro, and organizations across the Johnson County area. We serve across this community 1 in 3 community members across the metro, and so that work would not be possible without the support and partnerships with Johnson County. So thank you very much. Thanks for having us today, and good luck with your campaign.
All right, Brent Christensen. This is my 3rd year in a row, and we're looking to, while it's $95,000, I keep challenging Aaron that we're going for 6 figures. So we're going to get there, and I plan to present. We kind of go back and forth in this presentation in regards to getting it kicked off. I will present the winners, and we will have winners for departments. So we're looking at the top 3 departments that raise the most. as well as the top 3 by employee. And we have, for a number of years, provided the prize for the departments using our JCDS Emerging Artists, where we will select paintings. We will put down first, second, and third on those paintings, and we'll present those to the departments that did the most. And then obviously we have a traveling trophy that goes to the highest department raising funds. So as part of the ambassadors kickoff from last week, it's a challenge we're challenging all of them to help us with the fundraising, and we will continue to push out communication to them. We also have on the 25th of October, we will making kits, and we'll be inviting folks to come out and help us put baby kits together. So that, and our goal is 200 baby kits for people that are in need. And we also have a bus tour coming up in November 1st as well to kind of see what the funding that receives, the donations, where that goes and how it helps people. And so like the message that Aaron and I wrote that will come out Monday morning is that obviously I'm a longtime public servant and I work across a lot of different departments. I truly see all the help that we provide, and truly from a United Way perspective, same philosophy. And I'm proud to be part of this campaign, and when my term came up, I automatically renewed, because it really is, I feel, something that helps from a community perspective. And it's not just what I tell some folks, and not just always Johnson County, it's our greater Kansas City area. And so very proud of that, and we'll be back in December to tell us our results. So thank you.
In the interest of efficiency, we are going to take a brief shift in agenda here, and we're going to consider our consent agenda while we wait for a distinguished guest on our final proclamation for today. Should be no more than a few minutes. So at this time, I'd ask the clerk to let us know that we are prepared to start with our consent agenda. I will note that there are no notes from the record today. No notes from the record today.
Chair, we are ready for the consent.
All right. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to adopt the consent agenda as written. Commissioner Allenbrand?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Hanslick, second.
So moved by Commissioner Allenbrand and seconded by Commissioner Hanslick. This time, I'd ask the clerk to go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye. I have 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That is correct.
All right. Very good. All right, I see that Mr. Seidler's here. And so at this time, we'll go ahead and call item number 4 that's on our agenda. This is consideration of an interlocal agreement with Miami County for inmate housing at the Johnson County Adult Detention Centers. Mr. Seidler, thank you for being back, and thank you for providing some additional information to the entire board about the rates that Johnson County would recoup working with Miami County. You had presented to us at our agenda review 2 weeks ago. Yes. So thank you. Welcome back. Is there any further information you'd like to provide at this point regarding this interlocal agreement?
No, nothing additional other than, what I've already provided to the board in terms of the variable costs that we use to calculate. Outside of that, no, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Allenbrand, then Commissioner Fast.
Mr. Chair, when you're ready, I do have a motion.
Okay. Commissioner Fast?
So how do you determine how many that you can house? And this includes like all medical and mental health services too? So it's two questions.
Yeah, well, the capacity of the facility is, we have 1,081 beds, and so just, today we're at 734, so we have plenty of capacity. And then the medical and mental health, excuse me, they're included in the variable costs that I quoted you, and they're part of the care, custody, and control of inmates. And so every inmate that comes into the facility is given, basic medical care, and just like they are food and things like that. And so what's being billed separately for Miami County is any major expense or prescription medication, off-site medical care. Those are the things that are going to be billed separately to Miami County. But the other costs are included in the base rate of being in custody.
So since we were talking about Medicaid expansion, when you're in jail, then you lose your Medicaid coverage, correct?
Yes.
Questions for Mr. Sadler? Seeing none, go ahead, Commissioner Allenbrand, with your motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the contract authorizing inmates in the custody of the Sheriff of Miami County, Kansas, and transferred to the custody of the Sheriff of Johnson County and housed in the Johnson County Adult Detention Centers at a rate of $85 per day per inmate on an as-needed basis.
Hanslick, second.
Moved by Commissioner Allenbrand, seconded by Commissioner Hanslick. Seeing no further questions or comments, ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye, 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
All right, very good. The agreement is approved, and we thank Mr. Sadler for his work on that. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and return to the podium for our third proclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor today to welcome a steadfast supporter of Medicaid expansion in our state, our great Governor Laura Kelly. As you all know, the United States Supreme Court ruled that the expansion of Medicaid, known as KanCare here in the state of Kansas, is an option for states under the Affordable Care Act. And the Board of County Commissioners of Johnson County has supported KanCare expansion as part of its state legislative platform since 2014, now almost 10 years. We are one of only 10 states in the nation that hasn't taken the opportunity to expand Medicaid. Expanding Medicaid in our state would provide health insurance for an estimated 150,000 low-income Kansas, or 7,000 Johnson County residents. More than $7 million of charitable care provided annually for Johnson County Mental Health and Johnson County Department of Emergency Services would also be eligible for reimbursement, and the program pays for itself. It is estimated that Johnson County hospitals lose more than $35 million annually for uncompensated care that would be eligible for reimbursement if KanCare were expanded. Therefore, the Johnson County Board of Kansas Commissioners does hereby proclaim their support of KanCare expansion in the state of Kansas. And again, it is my great honor to welcome our Governor, Laura Kelly.
Thank you, Mike, and good morning, everybody. It really is my honor to be here today to celebrate this wonderful proclamation. You know, a few weeks ago, I announced that this fall, I'll be traveling around the state to talk about my #1 priority for the next legislative session, and that is expanding Medicaid. I'm calling the tour Healthy Workers, Healthy Economy. And that's why I'm so thankful to the chair, Mike Kelly, and to the other commissioners for making this a priority. You know, by expanding Medicaid here in Kansas, we can give thousands of working Kansans access to affordable health care. Contrary to what some would have you believe, 140,000 Kansans actually work but don't have health insurance. Many of them hold down jobs in our restaurants, in our child care centers, in our nursing homes, or other industries that might not provide employer-based insurance. We will reduce healthcare costs for everyone in the state, and we can protect hospitals that are in danger of closing. Let's think about Harrington Hospital earlier this week. We can return Kansas taxpayer dollars to the state. We'll create thousands of jobs. And we can strengthen our ability to hire and retain workers so that we can continue the historic business development and job growth we've experienced in recent years. Now, you might be asking, can we really do all of this just by expanding Medicaid? Yes, we can, and I'll tell you how. But first, let me give you a little bit of background. Medicaid is a federal and state health insurance program that helps with medical expenses for people who cannot afford them. Nationwide, Medicaid covers about 20% of all Americans. That number varies from state to state as each state administers Medicaid differently. Here in Kansas, the program we use to administer Medicaid is called KanCare, and it currently covers about 480,000 people. But unfortunately, that's not enough. There are still over 260,000 people in Kansas who do not have health insurance, including about 38,000 children. In 2010, the Affordable Care Act gave states the option and backed it up with federal funding to expand Medicaid to any adult with an income at or below 138% of the federal poverty level. In 2023, that means anyone making less than $20,120 a year, just under $10 per hour. Since then, 40 states and Washington, D.C. have expanded Medicaid. 10 states have not. Kansas is one of them. Under the current law, a single mother of two only qualifies for KanCare if her annual income is at or below $9,500 per year. That means that if a single mother of two works 30 hours per week at a minimum wage job, she does not qualify for Medicaid as it currently exists in Kansas. 6 years ago, our state legislature, led by Republicans, I should point out, voted to expand Medicaid, but it was then vetoed by the governor. Since that veto, because we have not expanded Medicaid, we have left nearly $7 billion on the table in Washington, D.C. Kansans pay federal taxes, but instead of that money coming back to us to support our hospitals and our workers, we're allowing the federal government to send it to support other states' hospitals. We have become a healthcare desert here in the Midwest. Every state bordering us has expanded Medicaid, including Republican-led states like Missouri, Oklahoma, and Nebraska. We are experiencing an unprecedented worker shortage because healthcare professionals are leaving in droves for higher-paying jobs and better benefits in our neighboring states that have expanded Medicaid. You know, it just doesn't have to be this way. Every year I've been governor, including earlier this year, I have introduced a bill to expand Medicaid with support from both sides of the political aisle. And every year it has been rejected by Senate and House leadership. Every year, the expansion bill I have introduced has been custom-tailored to address concerns we've heard from opponents the previous year. And every year, those opponents who oppose Medicaid find new ways to move the goalposts. It's clear at this point that they are not serious about solving the challenges around health care in our state. But we've got to be. Expanding Medicaid is the most sensible investment we can make in the future of Kansas. First, Medicaid expansion will lower costs for everyone in every corner of the state. Studies have shown that places where Medicaid has not been expanded see serious spikes in the cost of private insurance and send more tax dollars to local hospitals instead of giving that money back to Kansans through property tax cuts. As I mentioned, expanding Medicaid would give thousands more working Kansans access to affordable health services, including about 7,900 here in Johnson County. Remember that these are services that these people and all Kansans are already paying for through their federal taxes. And those include services and resources to treat people with mental illnesses and substance use disorders. Under the current system, individuals experiencing mental health crises or struggling with substance use disorders frequently end up in emergency rooms or York County Jail because there is nowhere else for them to go. This creates enormous challenges and puts a huge strain on York County, on your emergency departments, on the courts, and on law enforcement. And that's not to mention the undue burden on those who have mental illness and who would otherwise benefit from treatment or other interventions. These people really need health care, not handcuffs. It's also unfair to taxpayers who are left footing the bill. Not only do they pay for the high cost of incarceration, they're also on the hook again when untreated individuals wind up back on the streets, often in worse shape than when they entered the system. And as the proclamation says, if Medicaid were expanded, more than $7 million of charitable care provided annually by Johnson County Mental Health and the Johnson County Department of Emergency Services could be eligible for reimbursement. Our refusal to expand Medicaid is not saving us money. We're giving up the opportunity to bring these tax dollars back to our state. With every additional month we do not expand Medicaid, Kansas loses more than $66 million. We need to give Kansas taxpayers access to the health care services they deserve and are already paying for. Expanding Medicaid will bring those dollars back to our own communities and reduce costs for every Kansan. And that's not just a guess. We've seen it happen across the country. Other states have found that whatever it costs to expand Medicaid, the state makes that back by saving money on corrections, mental health, and foster care, by creating jobs and by boosting the economy. Expanding Medicaid will also support our hospitals. If an uninsured Kansan ends up in the emergency room and can't pay the bill, our hospitals have to cover it. As you've heard, it's estimated that Johnson County hospitals spend more than $35 million every year on uncompensated care. It puts an undue burden on the system here in Johnson County. In our rural areas, it can result in actual closure of the only hospital or clinic in the area, forcing people to travel long distances for basic health care. There's an economic component to this as well. In many Kansas communities, hospitals often serve as economic hubs. Losing them means losing the workers who help those communities and the local businesses within them thrive. And finally, expanding Medicaid will make us more economically competitive. I've said that the North Star of my second term is making Kansas the best place in the country to live, work, and raise a family. I'm proud that since I've taken office, we've experienced historic levels of new businesses choosing to call Kansas home. We've been able to bring over $17.5 billion in private investment to Kansas, much of that to Johnson County. But I believe that growth would have been even stronger if we were able to point to a more robust healthcare system to attract businesses and workers. Expanding Medicaid in itself will create about 23,000 jobs. And if we want to put an end to the healthcare worker shortage I mentioned earlier, we must enact policies that keep those workers here in Kansas rather than losing them to our border states. For business owners, expanding Medicaid is a win-win. Private sector employers in Kansas could save up to $80 million per year in healthcare costs if Medicaid is expanded. And a healthier workforce is a more productive workforce. Having healthy employees who can consistently show up to work and can reliably perform their job responsibilities is one of the most basic requirements of any successful business. So it boils down to this: expanding Medicaid and ensuring that every person in Kansas has access to the affordable, high-quality health care they deserve is the smartest and the sanest way to keep Kansas moving forward. And this is not a partisan issue. A recent statewide survey showed that 78% of Kansans, regardless of political affiliation, support Medicaid expansion. And trust me when I tell you that there are many Republican legislators who are just as frustrated as I am that we have failed to get this done. I've heard that Medicaid expansion was never going to pass last year because some of my colleagues across the aisle did not want to give me a win during an election year. The truth is that expanding Medicaid is not a win for me. It is a win for hospitals, workers, business leaders, families, and individuals throughout our state. Now, I refuse to give up on this fight. When the legislature reconvenes in January, I will propose Medicaid expansion for the 6th time. So to everyone here today, please call your legislators and ask them to demand that legislative leadership give them a chance to vote for Medicaid expansion. Make it clear that every legislator standing in the way of expansion is going against the wants and the needs of the people they claim to represent. Instead, they should be like the Johnson County Commissioners and work to get Medicaid expanded so we can achieve a healthier workforce, a healthier economy, and a healthier state. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you to the Commission for the proclamation.
On behalf of the Commission, we want to thank Governor Kelly for her advocacy and for her leadership on this very important issue for our economy, for our hospitals, and for our kids. And as the saying goes, Governor, 6th time is a charm. So let's hope that rings true. And we thank you very much for joining us here today. At this time, we're going to take a brief recess. I'm going to invite those commissioners who want to join me for a photograph to do so. And we thank you all very much for being here today and for your advocacy on behalf of Medicaid expansion. So thank you. So help me out, man. Okay. Thank you all very much for your patience. We're going to continue right now with our action agenda. At this time, I'll welcome up Tony Barron, our Director of Facilities, as we consider a term and supply contract with DH Pace Company for on-call door repair and maintenance. Mr. Barron, welcome back. It's good to see you. Thank you for your presentation on this matter at Agenda Review. Is there anything further you'd like to add?
Thank you, Chairman Kelly. Tony Barron, Director of Facilities Management. I just want to confirm some of the, acknowledge some, and confirm some of the comparison prices that I spoke of last week. We did reach out a second time to confirm some of that to make sure our county was protected and getting the best value. So I will stand for any further questions regarding that.
Further questions for Mr. Barron? Commissioner Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we talked about this briefly last week. I had the opportunity to visit with Mr. Barron and his staff yesterday, I believe. The sensitivity I have is when I see just one vendor on a topic that looks like it's fairly well established in the marketplace in just the interest of any other vendors. And Mr. Barron was kind enough to give me kind of an overview of, they did attempt to reach out to some vendors and the circumstances surrounding this. So having learned that, I did not glean that from the briefing sheet, but from the conversation, I appreciate it. So I will be supporting this.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions at this time, Commissioner Hanslick, a motion?
Yes, sir. I move to authorize a term and supply contract with DH Pace Company for on-call door repair and maintenance in the amount not to exceed $125,000 for a one-year term period with 4 additional one-year renewal options.
Myers, second.
Moved by Commissioner Hanslick and seconded by Commissioner Myers. Seeing no further questions, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye, I have 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Barron. At this time, we'll move on to item number 6. We are going to now open a public hearing to consider approving the proposed 2024 streamlined annual Public Housing Authority Plan for submission to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Heather McNeve from Planning will kick us off. Ms. McNeve, welcome.
Good morning. I'm Heather McNeve. I'm Housing Services Director, and I serve as the Executive Director of Johnson County Housing Authority. So today I'm here to present the annual action plan for our Housing Authority for 2024. There's no real updates or changes from last week. Just recall that this is an annual requirement for HUD. It consists of 2 parts, the progress report and the admin plan changes. It's already been to our Resident Advisory Board and our Housing and Community Development Advisory Committee. Are there any questions or comments at this time?
So we're going to hold off on questions for the commission. Given that this is a public hearing, we're going to open for public comments. There's one registered, and that's Galen Van Horn.
Thank you, Galen Van Horn, Lenexa. In trying to read through a lot of the detail here, I've been looking at the Streamlined Annual Public Housing Authority Plan. Chapter 1, Statement of Local Objectives, page 2, bullet 1, to assist 75% of extremely low-income families. What is an extremely low-income family and what is a very low-income family? Are my questions. Bullet 3 indicates to provide opportunities for participants to participate in homebuyer education and down payment assistance programs where available. I had several questions. How could someone with an extremely low or low income ever afford their property taxes in Johnson County if they did get a home? What are down payment assistance programs available for the extremely low and very low income families? Bullet 8, manage the HCV program to achieve high performance rating on Section 8. What is considered a high performance rating and how will that be determined? Family outreach, page 6, advertise the availability of housing assistance using local papers. what is the circulation of these newspapers to the extremely low and very low income population of Johnson County? When I looked yesterday, the Kansas City excuse me, the Kansas City Star cost is $7.69 per week, or nearly $400 for a year's subscription. Would an extremely low or even very low income family spend this kind of money on a paper? I'm not saying this program isn't worth our tax dollars. That said, however, as a taxpayer, I want to know, where does job financial training fit into this plan? How many employees are required to administer this program? What is the cost to the taxpayer for this program, employee salary and benefit costs? Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Are there any other comments that folks would like to make on this topic? Okay, then I'm going to invite Ms. McNeve back to the dais.
Excuse me, Chair, could you go ahead?
I'm going to close the
Okay,
public hearing
thank
at
you.
this time. Yep. Thank you very much. All right, so now that the public hearing is closed, I'm going to open this to questions and comments from our commissioners. Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in full support of this, and, just to make a comment, this has been something that's been worked on for the last 3 years, so it's all coming to light now, and I really appreciate that. I do want to say that one of the things that I have discovered just being out in the community, how many people go to the library for free services using the internet, computer service, newspapers, magazines, and I was one that didn't realize how many people were doing that in communities and that can't afford to have those publications. So I'd like to share that. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. McNeve, could you go ahead and give the amounts of low income versus very low income?
Sure. So HUD defines very low income in our community as at or below 50% of area median income for our Kansas City metro area. For a household size of one, that's $35,900 a year gross income. Extremely low income, which is 30% of AMI or less, is $21,550. The average income for our participants is around $15,842.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Hara, then Commissioner Haslett.
Yes, thank you. So does this fulfill the requirement that for our CBDG? Is this?
No, this is a different plan. There is a CDBG action plan on agenda review today for action next week.
Okay, so that's next week. So this is for the housing vouchers?
Just the housing authority, so the 1,466 housing choice vouchers and 62 emergency housing.
Okay, so this is just a continuation of what we have been doing?
Yes, this is just an annual requirement by HUD to provide a progress report.
And what has the progress been?
Well, the most interesting part was probably the Landlord Incentive Pilot Program that was passed by this board with SLFRF dollars over the summer. We've recruited 10 new landlords, and we've helped, I think, we've helped 26 families and 64 individuals with that. So that's a big part of our progress report this year.
Excellent. And then, so how many vouchers do we have available that are not being used?
Well, we have 1,466 for our community. We're using about 1,380 of them at the moment. We've experienced the loss of a lot of landlord participation over the last couple of years, which is why we did the incentive, and we're seeing more landlord interest in the program now.
Thank you. Commissioner Haslett.
Thank you. Ms. McNeve, I wondered if you could just talk briefly about the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, and then I'm assuming that many of our applicants for the HCV program come through existing community organizations. I know when I was with Safe Home, we always helped people apply when the list opened up. But if you could speak to the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, as well as if there's any further information about how people access the wait list.
Absolutely. So the Family Self-Sufficiency Program is a program designed to help our working families with employment income work towards self-sufficiency, what that looks like for them. It could be home ownership, it could be moving to market rent and giving up their voucher, it could be several different things. They're afforded the opportunity to accrue an escrow savings account that we hold for them, and when they accomplish goals, they're given access to that escrow. They can use it to go to school, buy a car, buy a house, whatever it is that they set out for themselves. So that's a program that we are very proud of. We have 32 participants right now. We're trying to get up to 35 by the end of the year. As far as the outreach and our work with community partners, we always let our community partners know when we're opening up our wait list. We typically open once a year. We work really closely with Catholic Charities, Salvation Army, Safe Home, of course, and Johnson County Mental Health for our emergency housing voucher program. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I hope this is not out of order, but I wanted to address or make comment about Ms. Van Horn's observations. I just wanted to offer, I think your questions for the most part were spot on, and I appreciate them. I would reframe them a little bit differently if I could. The question, and Ms. McNeve answered this, and she offered a very distilled response in terms of income expectations. It does slide depending on the number of people in the family. So the bare minimum for one, or the amount for one person is $35,900, but it does escalate somewhat. But the point is, in terms of family costs and family value to compare to poverty, and that's probably as fair a barometer as you can come up with. So I think that's a good approach. But I would suggest, and Ms. Van Horn, for what it's worth, I asked staff this question yesterday, and was hoping maybe Ms. McNeve could elaborate a little bit on it. Could you frame for us what is the ultimate goal of this program? And I know we're submitting the paperwork and we've got to do this pro forma stuff. What is the goal, or HUD's definition of success? And it's hard to believe that I'm saying HUD has a definition of success, but if HUD did have a definition of success and we were a player in that, what is the goal of this program?
Sure. So the goal of the Housing Choice Voucher Program is really to reduce housing instability and homelessness amongst the extremely low-income population in our community. It unfortunately does not meet the overall need in our community. It's a congressional legislation to fund it and allocate the vouchers.
And you said something similar to that yesterday to me. So the question then is, does HUD, or have we ever done a census? And I know that people move in and out of those poverty limits, but is there some monitoring? Are we attempting to address with this effort 50% of the need, 90% of the need, or 5%? Do we have any sense of that, or does HUD have any sense of that in terms of what we are doing and versus what the need is by their own definition?
Yes. So unfortunately, Congress does not allocate a sufficient amount of funding to cover the full need. If you look at the latest American Community Survey data from 2022, there's about 12,000 households in our community that fall under the $15,000 a year threshold. So between the Olathe Housing Authority and the Johnson County Housing Authority, we serve about 16% of the need. I think we'd all agree that's insufficient. So call your congressman.
Okay. Thank you.
And we'll continue to work with our
legislative delegation.
Well, among those, but also with our landlords, to make sure that the vouchers that we do get can be used. And so while it is insufficient to address all the need in our community, we've addressed an additional 26 families. That's not insignificant, and we'll continue to do so. And I think this program has already shown success, and I appreciate your efforts and the efforts of your team in continuing to build those relationships with landlords so that the vouchers we do have can be used and to abate at least a portion of that need within our community. I believe everybody who had at least one chance to speak now, so if there's a motion, we'll go ahead and get that on the table at this time, then we'll continue with questions. Yeah, Commissioner Myers?
Thank you, Chair. I move to approve the 2024 Streamline Annual PHA Plan covering January 1st through December 31st, 2024, as recommended by the Director of Housing Services and approved by the Housing and Community Development Advisory Committee for submission to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Alan Brand, second.
Moved by Myers, seconded by Allen Brand. Further questions from Commissioner O'Hara?
Thank you. So even if Congress allocated more money and gave us more vouchers, we wouldn't be able to serve them because we don't have landlords who are willing to participate in the program, correct?
You're correct. We need the landlords to make this program work.
Thank you. Commissioner Hanslick?
Thank you. I have a question, and you may not have the information off the top of your head, but since we've been talking about Medicaid expansion this morning, I'm wondering how many of the folks who are using the HCV vouchers are in that situation because of either medical situations or healthcare debt. I see on one of your slides it says 33% of voucher holders are working single parents. I wonder how many of those folks have health insurance or qualify for Medicaid. I think my point is this potentially impacts these folks too, and their ability perhaps to become more independent. So I don't know if you have any further information about the medical status of the folks the medical coverage status of folks using the vouchers.
Unfortunately, I don't have that data for our program, but I know the income guidelines line up for Medicaid and for food stamps as well for our program.
Thank you.
They're all kind of designed to work together.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to offer a point to Commissioner O'Hara's observation. Commissioner O'Hara, you are correct, but I did want to give staff credit that I believe in the past 6 months, while the full need access has not been addressed, I think there have been significant steps taken, and I commend staff for those efforts, and I appreciate your education and outreach to those potential landlords, so good job.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're here. Last question?
I was just gonna follow up with Commissioner Ashcraft's comment that I think this is why it's so important that earlier this year that this board approved funding to help support the development of housing that will accept housing choice vouchers, like the development in Shawnee and development in Olathe. That increases the number of available apartments and housing units that take vouchers just tremendously. So need to keep that in mind too.
Commissioner O'Hara?
Thank you. The development on, it's 71st Street and K7, is that correct?
In Shawnee, that's the Hedge
Approximately.
Lane. Is that the Hedge Lane
I
development?
think it's just like a block off of K7.
Yes.
Staff and the owner of that facility estimated that I think it was between 5 to 7% of those units would be used for vouchers because of the lack of transportation and the location of that facility. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that.
I think we're off on a different topic here.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Thank you. Very good.
I'm just explaining that, yes, we have done this, but according to Jay Lepsick, and we had it in our commissioner information, that a very, very small percentage of those units, and I was just wondering perhaps that had changed. There's Jay. Jay can, I think it was around 7%.
I think we can provide this information.
Now, I think the public
Thank
needs
you.
to understand that we gave this developer an interest-free loan for 15 years.
We did, and I appreciate the work that we did there. We're going to focus now on the program with HUD, and if there's no other comments, Commissioner Fast,
I
go
know,
ahead.
you were talking about having a planning process that we incorporate CDBG. So this is just our yearly update of the 5-year, correct? And then next year, we start,
That's on next week's agenda.
oh, okay, sorry.
Get on.
I'm getting-
There is a
we're getting
5-year plan
ahead.
for the housing authority as well.
Thank
And we're
you.
going to do it next year.
Okay, thanks.
Questions called by Commissioner Allenbrand. I'll second. Ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye, 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Thank you, Ms. McNeeve.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to invite Brian Johnson, the Executive Director from the Johnson County Airport, to discuss a contract with Gunter Construction Company for the reconstruction of T hangars Kilo and Lima at the Johnson County Executive Airport. Thank you for your report last week. Anything further to provide?
Chairman Kelly, Commissioners, yes, good morning. Just a couple things I wanted to highlight. Wanted to go back and draw your attention again to what the Johnson County Airport Commission, the action they took forth last month to put forward a plan that incorporates a self-funded reconstruction program. So all the work being done at the Johnson County Executive Airport is driven by the rents that are collected on the T hangars, which then feeds these reconstruction projects. So it's 100% self-funded. And again, I just want to thank you and thank the JCAC for that effort, as one of our goals as an airport is to try to become financially self-sustainable as possible. The second one is important as well. It relates to, again, kudos to Robin Lines and her staff as well as legal. One of the things that we did, we followed up with an affidavit to the company of Burns and McDonald to ensure that there was no financial conflict of interest. Essentially, we sent them a form that they had to execute, and in it protects basically us. It's another avenue for protecting us as we work with a variety of contractors as well as other professional services. But it's a no financial interest or conflict of interest with the firms that provide or submit bids as part of the procurement process. So again, really a great effort by the team here, and really, really appreciated the response from Burns and Mac to provide that right back to us.
Thank you. Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I want to thank Aaron Otto for all of his work previously done. And then with you coming on board and your experience and expertise, and just the commission alone and all the work that they have completed. And again, the partnership and to Ms. Symes and working together to get this done. And Mr. Chair, when you're ready, I have a motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Allenbrand.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, Commissioner Ashcraft.
He thanks you too.
Darn.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Johnson, thank you for your due diligence. I had asked that question, I believe, last week, so I appreciate you following up on that. Did you have any inclination or feedback in terms of, and this is not a complaint, just a curiosity, but why the Gunter bid is, I mean, it's significantly less than the engineering estimate. Did the scope change, or what was the cause of that? Any observations?
Commissioner, that's a great question. I don't have any observations whatsoever. The process is so well defined, and when we're looking at these various individuals or companies that submitted bids, these are all qualified companies. There's a process, of course, and we've talked about it. We've identified it, and Robin certainly can expand on it. But for me to it's I'm not in that profession. I can't really formally comment at all on why bids are submitted with the numbers that they are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Myers?
Well, I just was going to say I can talk a little bit from my experience, and that I can't give the reason why this one came in that way, but in talking to large companies on their bid process, many times It's the amount of work that they have at the time that they see a bid come forward. And these companies can give a much better bid if they don't have the work or really need the work. They sharpen their pencils. And so that's just one of my observations from my past experience. I think there's several others. Sometimes we have heard in the past that for whatever reason, a company had some of the materials or equipment available that maybe some of the other companies didn't have. Again, not saying that that is the case in this situation, but many times those are types of situations that arise for these types of bids and the discrepancies of the bid process.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Myers, that's a fair observation, and I understand what you're asking or what you're stating, I believe. The sensitivity I have is just understanding that when we have firms or individuals that provide estimates, to make sure that we're monitoring that, because that is a gauge for us to understand the value of what's being proposed. And if we are doing this with Burns and Mack, we do this routinely, and every once in a while, you'll get those which are cost favorable and sometimes cost not favorable, and I understand that, but it's to be able to develop a reliance, an assurance that those providing the estimates are good barometers for us to make decisions. That's why I was asking. So, but I respect what you said, and I actually agree with what you said.
All right. Seeing no further questions, is there a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Commissioner Myers, you're exactly right, and that happens a lot. And depending on how much work they have around the area, and also how, that they can make that cost effective, and also not having enough work. So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I move to authorize a contract with Gunner Construction Company in the amount of $3,819,085 for the reconstruction of T hangars, Kalo, and Lima at the Johnson County Executive Airport, and authorize an increase of the budget authority for the related project amount to $4,043,868 to cover the construction and prior expenditures.
Myers, second.
Moved by Allenbrand, seconded by Myers. Without any further questions, we'll have the clerk please call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
I have 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian. This time, we'll go to our county manager, Penny Post Oak Ferguson, for the manager's report.
Chairman and Commissioners, good morning. I have 2 items today. The first is Johnson County's 2023 Veterans Day observance is scheduled for Friday, November 10th. The event will be held at the Lenexa National Guard Armory. It starts at 11 a.m. and honors all veterans from all armed forces for their military service. Our featured speaker will be Brigadier General Anthony Mohat, commander of the Kansas Army National Guard. His awards and honors includes the Bronze Star and the Iraq Campaign Medal and 2 Service Stars. Other participants include the Olathe Northwest High School Band and Lenexa's Mill Creek Elementary School Choir. For those who can't attend in person, the event will be live streamed on Johnson County's Facebook page and website. And Jody Hansen and team have been working on this along with Gerald Hay and others, so they're available if you have questions. Next item is the Johnson County Public Art Commission.
County Manager, is this the same place it was last year?
I don't recall where it
Yes.
was last.
Okay.
It'll be
I
at
thought
the
so,
same,
but-
same location.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks. The Johnson County Public Art Commission has selected art for Emily Alvarez of Kansas City, Missouri, and Sage Vaughn of Los Angeles, California, to be featured in the new Miriam Plaza Library. Information describing the featured art was included in the memo, and a link to the article with additional information was included. The art installation is set to begin at the site this fall, and Amy Barclay, the current branch manager of Antioch Library and future branch manager of Miriam Plaza, is in attendance to answer questions. And with that, Chairman, that concludes my report.
All right. Further questions? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Our county manager. And excited to see that art at the Miriam Plaza Library. That concludes the items on our printed agenda. I will mention that there is a scheduled committee of the whole this afternoon for a transit update. It will begin at 1 o'clock here in this room. We'll now move to commissioner comments. We're going to start with Commissioner Hanslick.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things I wanted to mention that have gone on this week. Well, I am a member of the Community Education and Workforce Development, Community Economic and Workforce Development Committee of the National Association of Counties, and we had our monthly online meeting, and it's always, I always learn things going on in the rest of the country from other commissioners, especially those who are working on housing and workforce development issues. This past week, I had the opportunity to attend the Mainstream Gala. It's their 30th anniversary. And for those of you who may not know, Mainstream was started by a bipartisan interfaith group of people who wanted to address the polarization and division in our community, as well as to ensure the separation of church and state. And they have been working toward that goal and working on that for 30 years. I'm going to allow or ask Commissioner Allenbrand to address our Commission on Aging meeting yesterday. We had a annual legislative meeting, and appreciated all the legislators who came to that to talk about what we need to be doing to support our aging population, of which I am one. Last Sunday, I had the opportunity to attend the Pride in the Park, which was the largest event so far, and congratulations to all those who were in charge of that. There were people from various churches, there were people from Kansas Health Department, people from law enforcement, all kinds of representatives there for that event. So check it out next year. And then finally, last Friday, I was part of the Overland Park 79th Street Corridor Stakeholder Study Walking Tour. The city is looking to make the 79th Street corridor near downtown Overland Park more walkable and bikeable. And it was very eye-opening to actually walk those streets and see how there are places where it's dangerous to be walking on the sidewalk, let alone even trying to bike. So I commend the city for looking at that and look forward to progress on that in the future. And that is it.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to thank you for your comments at the beginning of the meeting on our Jewish community. I stand with that Jewish community, and I appreciate your comments and agree with them fully. And hopefully today, I'm going to be able to have time to show my support at Union Station, where there's going to be a gathering and an update and a show of support for our Jewish community. I also attended the Johnson County Commission on Aging meeting yesterday morning. Thought it was excellent, received a lot of good information, and I'm very proud of all of our committee members, appointees to that committee and the work that they're doing. I think they're doing a fantastic job. I was surprised at the number of committee members that are basically less than a year in representing and being serving on that committee, and they really seem to be in lockstep and moving forward, and very enthused to get some good work done.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Monday evening was a very busy evening for me. I actually dropped in to listen to the public comments at the Blue Valley School District, and then St. Michael's was holding a a information meeting on human trafficking through Rehope, and that was extremely well attended. I was very pleased that there is this much interest in trying to end human trafficking, which pornography has a huge impact on the appetite to go into the dark world of human trafficking. And then I addressed a community group in Olathe later. It was very well attended, so well attended that I had to park a block away, and so that it was. I was really encouraged that people seem to have that kind of interest in civic issues. Then Tuesday, as usual, I was at the Juvenile Detention Center for Bible study, and actually, Ron Stiles had a special guest. This young man had been incarcerated at the Juvenile Detention Center, I believe that he said in 2016 and 2017, and his success story and such a great example that he was setting for these young people that were in, they're in a bad situation, but that there is hope. And this young man has been gainfully employed for 5 years. He owns a home. He was just married earlier this year, and he is a shining example. And he gave a lot of credit to Ron Stiles and his program of Bible study at the detention center. So I just wanted to share that, and it was the young folks, they were very interested in what he had to say. So just wanted to report on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too will tell you I appreciated your comments about the tragic events in Israel. I think you summed it up real well. I did want to offer, about 10 years ago, my son and I had an opportunity to do a mission to Gaza Strip and the West Bank and Israel. And even at that time, the tension was palpable for all parties involved. It's an environment, and I have never lived there, but having visited, there were reprieves in certain locations. If you go to an international hotel, it's a different atmosphere. But when you're out in the community, in the kibbutz and on the streets, it's very real, and there was always a tension and a fear that something would happen, and the worst did happen. And I will tell you, the trip was eye-opening to me on a number of different levels. Made some very good friends, and haven't seen them, of course. I haven't been back, but have been Facebook friends for years, and do those pleasant communications. And I will share that to a person, and there's probably 8 or 10 who are in Israel and in the area. They've all gone quiet on Facebook, and there has not been a word. And I hope and I pray for the best, but I know the peoples of the Middle East are tense at this moment, and the peoples of Israel have every right, unfortunately, to be on a heightened state of alert, and I do pray for them. So thank you for your words.
Thank you. Commissioner Ellenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I too appreciate your leadership and role in the comments that you made today for the Jewish community. Well done. Last Thursday, I attended the DeSoto City Council meeting. We do have a lot of great things going on in Johnson County, and I like to share that. And it's amazing, how many people don't realize about the parks. And so it's always great sharing that information. And I want to thank Joe Connor I know he has a lot to do, but he attended the meeting with me and shared the work that we're partnering with on the fire station. On Friday, I attended the Gary Haller Memorial Golf Tournament. He was my boss in early years, and that was a great tournament. It was a very cold and rainy day. I apologize for my son hitting into the management team. So it was him, it wasn't me. I can't hit that far.
Is that why Joe has that big red spot on his
I
head?
know. I'm like, why did you have to do it to the managers? But anyway, I left early. It was too cold and too rainy, so I didn't finish. But anyway, it was a great event, and thanks to Jeff Stewart and that entire team for putting that together. Monday night, I attended the Gardner-Edgerton School Board meeting, and they are getting ready. In fact, I am pleased to announce they have their 4th school that's becoming a blue ribbon school. The leadership of Dr. Huff and what's going on within the school and their the vocational programs are, again, it's hitting the job market, getting kids in middle school, getting them out into the community to work, and he's been a real leader. We've been working with the airport and some of the businesses out there to get kids involved in school. So I really appreciate that. And, the struggles they're going through right now, with any child can go anywhere they want, and they have to have a plan in place by 2024. It's very difficult. And then, by the way, the funding won't come in until a year later. That's very difficult on our public schools. And I admire the leadership they're taking in putting that together, because they're going to have to be very careful, not to overpopulate the different classrooms. So every district that I've been to, DeSoto and now Gardner, Edgerton, that's happening. So I appreciate all the work they've done. Tuesday night, I attended the first DeSoto Economic Development Kickoff. It was very well attended. I really appreciate the speakers that attended there, and again, addressing workforce, the needs of workforce development, and I really appreciate that. Was a great event. I appreciate the commissioners that were able to attend the Commission on Aging Legislative Breakfast. And Commissioner Myers, thank you, for pointing out, everybody makes an appointment here on that Commission on Aging. And, we had COVID happen, things had changed, and now they are very aggressive. And it doesn't have anything to do with past leadership. It has to do with, getting past COVID, moving forward, and the positive, I look at the committees, there's like 10 different committees. And what I heard from them was, we've also heard this out in the community, the need for Medicaid expansion, where that falls for them, and getting mental health services, hospital services, doctors services. Also the need, the other thing we heard over and over was, please don't tax on Social Security. Also, one of the things I heard, not here, but also at the conference that they attended, was tax freeze for those seniors in their homes. So I hope, and then also the other thing was, a lot of people can't afford having broadband, but also it's the equipment that's needed, and somebody to come in and help set that equipment up for them. So I'm going to continue to keep championing for those, for the Commission on Aging, and trying to help get those things done. And they're going to be coming to our board, and they've been working with Mark Dapp on their legislative platform and trying to get that together to partner with us. So I really appreciate that. I attended this morning the Olathe Rotary Group, and again, presenting all the great things that are going on in Johnson County, and it's always a pleasure to be involved in that. I also want to point out that to Gerald Hay, and that they just won the top best of show and honor in 4 writings on the magazine in excellence. And, and then also took 2nd place in overall magazine design and 3rd place for website. It's really important, and I hear that from the seniors, that is their form of getting information. And we saw that in our survey, our county survey, how important that magazine is to people that don't have internet and don't have access to going online. So I really appreciate him. And I continue to work with the cities on habitat housing for workforce, and so we've got some meetings coming up, and I appreciate the staff participating in there, and I'm promising I'm wrapping it up. Also been working with planning staff, and we're getting ready to have another broadband meeting in the unincorporated area, so we can see what we can get done there. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Allenbrand. Commissioner Fast.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to highlight, too, in my sophomore year of college, went to the Holy Land, and I didn't want to take the class, so I went there instead to learn the history. And so I just been thinking, too, about all the places we visited and people we spoke to, too. This week I attended the KC Digital Divide Community Partner event. I had worked with them during COVID about lack of digital access in District 1, so even in, more the urban, suburban communities that don't have digital access. I met the new director of Kansas Broadband Office. There's grants coming out. I connected her with Julie, and they're going to start regional planning on these broadband infrastructure grants, so that is exciting. They're also starting a project for those who are doing in jail, community reentry, don't have digital access. I'm going to come to the JCAB meeting tomorrow and talk about that. Also want to give a shout out to our Johnson County Public Health Department, their work on the TB outreach, and they got on it right away, just so impressive. I know there are parents in this room that saw firsthand what they did on that. Several weeks ago, we had a Northeast Environmental Fair. All the cities came together. Johnson County Public Health and Environmental Department were there. I've seen them at June 19th in Prairie Village. They were at the Santa Fe Village, our upcoming our festival that we had here in downtown Olathe. So always having a booth and working with the community and outreach and trying to connect with the residents of Johnson County. Really appreciated the Commission on Aging event this week. One of the things that I've talked with Jody is that we highlight in our magazine, these services that we have, like CHAMPS, Meals on Wheels, our home weatherization, that we really have kind of a pull-out sheet of what are the programs that are easily accessible, and she's looking at that for an upcoming magazine, which I think will be really handy, because we do have so many, and the legislators didn't really know about a lot of the programs that we offer. Would like to do a shout out to Dr. Reverend Manili, who started Mainstream Coalition 30 years ago, and they highlighted him at the Mainstream Coalition. I attended a women's meeting at Village Presbyterian, and it was interesting. A number of were older adults and the difficulty of finding senior housing in Northeast, and they were having to move to Olathe, Shawnee, and it was like 3 different families, and so just the ongoing need for affordable, accessible senior housing in the Northeast.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Fast. Commissioner Hare.
Thank you. I forgot to thank you because you responded to my email yesterday about inquiring if we were going to acknowledge the tragedy that occurred in Israel. And I just wanted to thank you for responding to me and to so eloquently proclaim and ask for a moment of silence. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for your email regarding that topic. I think it's one that we all obviously care about very deeply, and I'm glad that we all stand in support. And I look forward to providing a statement of support on our behalf this evening with the JCRB and AJC. We're incredibly privileged to be where we are and to live in Johnson County, and it puts in perspective our squabbles and our disagreements on policy, and makes me thankful for my brother, who's a lieutenant colonel in the reserves, and all who serve to keep our community safe, but all of those who also provide first responder services and those who will be necessary in the Middle East especially the Red Cross and international humanitarian efforts that are going to be so desperately needed in that community, and we pray for all of them who are providing those services. You heard a lot of great things that we're doing in Johnson County, and I'm glad the commission is out there being able to represent and to encourage some of the good things we've continued to do. I was with the Labor Management Council this morning with the tradesmen who continue to build and the economic development that we've seen in our community. Again, we're just incredibly fortunate, and I'm proud to talk about a lot of the good things that we're doing. I wanted to thank Commissioner Allenbrand for running the meeting last week, and I thank all of you for your professionalism and working with her in my absence. But I was very pleased to be able to represent Johnson County with the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce at the Leadership Exchange in San Antonio. We were able to meet with leaders, including the mayor of San Antonio, to discuss some of the great things that they've done, the way that they are addressing homelessness and the wraparound services that they provide is amazing. Also, the tech port at Kelly Field in San Antonio is remarkable and gives us inspiration and some examples of what we could do here for Johnson County. So an incredibly worthwhile trip with other professionals and electeds from across our region that will pay dividends for our community, and I was very glad to be able to attend that. I wanted to invite you all, if you've got nothing going on Saturday, to come and join me for the Fun Fest at Theater in the Park. We're going to have an inaugural Fall Fest out there. There's going to be a family fun run, vendors and food, hay rides, face painting, some performances, and we're also going to announce the season shows that we'll have at 2024 for Theater in the Park. That all starts at 9 o'clock at Theater in the Park. Going back to Commissioner Allenbrand running the meeting, I think it's important that we continue to always evaluate how we're running our meetings, how we're preparing for meetings, how we can be efficient in our meetings, and how we can be most effective for the people of Johnson County. Because of that, I've asked the staff to prepare a study session on our calendar so we can work together and evaluate ideas of how we can prepare, how we can have a calendar and meetings that are most effective. And I look forward to that study session next Thursday. So I want to thank staff for their help with that. That's all the business we have on today's agenda. We are going to stand in recess for 5 minutes, and that's a tight 5 to allow the clerk to switch the tapes, and then we'll be back for our agenda review. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.